Next, we'll do a little bit of typography. So let's turn off these guys over here. Here's a quick way to turn things off. You don't have to do this. You don't have to go click, 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 click. What you can do is you can, well, it goes backwards. Let me just do this. You can quickly do this kind of thing. You can click, hold the mouse button down, and drag. And when you let go, boom, it all goes away. So you can do that to turn it on too. Cool trick, right? Okay. So let's see. We want to maybe put some navigation in. So we'll do a little bit of typography here. Set edition US, international, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so how about if we go get the type tool, and we're going to type just above here. Now I'm going to do point type, which means it's not going to be a paragraph. So I'll do this one, and you can see by the flash here it's a little bit big, so I'll just crank this down to start off with, like around 14 or 15. That's good. And I'll type this stuff in. So set, ooh, it's a little bit big yet, but that's okay. Set edition US. I'm going to put a pipe in here that is shift backslash and then international, shift backslash Mexico, shift backslash and Arabic. And you know what, I will at least, I'll hit the return key to make a new line, and then that will be TVCNN. And I'll put another pipe there. Okay, and I'll tell Photoshop I'm done. Now, just so you can see this, you can see that it's a little bit big. I'll go back to my type tool and crank this down to, let's go to 12. That's pretty close. Maybe down, oh, it's 11. Let's go down to 10. Let's go down to 10. Okay, as you can see, my Arabic doesn't go quite that far. You know, at this stage of the game, it's not that big a deal because we can always massage that in later. But let's see what it looks like so far. Let's crank all these things back on. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, we could continue doing that kind of stuff, sign up and log in. Let's do this one. Let's do a great big headline over here that says, fifth signal unlikely related to Flight 370. Okay, so again, we'll use the type tool. I tend to like to go to blank spaces where I can see what I'm doing here. And I'll just type this stuff in here. I'll tell Photoshop I'm done. Now, if I had an extended keyboard, I would hit the Enter key on the far right of my keyboard, but I've got a little mini wireless keyboard, so I can't quite do that. So I have to tell it up here that I'm done. Okay, now, it needs to be a little bit bigger. Let's push this up to maybe 20. That's nice. Now, this alignment looks like it is kind of center aligned. So I'm going to click on this guy here. That looks pretty good. Let's use the move tool and get it down in this area. It could be bigger. So let's, you know what? I don't like having to go back to the type tool all the time. There's a way to get around this. I will go to the character panel, which is essentially the same kind of things we see up in the options bar here. But I don't have to keep the type tool on. What I can do is just keep this window open, and I could crank this up a little bit more. Let's go to 24. 24 looks pretty good. So let's put this down here. That looks very close, and with this, that looks really good. I might even use my arrow keys to kind of push this over just a hair more. You can see that actually my second line here is a little bit loose. There's a bigger gap than what's drawn on the page. So I'm going to fix this by going to, let's start off with 18. That's a little close. I'll actually put in 20. Maybe 22. I like that. Okay. Now I'm not going to do this whole thing right now. The idea here is that I'm showing you the main key elements and how they're built. Okay. So let's play with some of these guys down here. You know what? Let's not. Let's finish our type. So big headlines, they need to be written with type. Your navigation, that should be done with type. This stuff down here, the squiggles, this is your body copy, where it's really small type, and it would change in the real world. It would change from day to day, from minute to minute. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's make a big old body copy thing right over here. So I'm going to draw a box using the type tool. Now right now it's center aligned, so I'm going to go back to left alignment there. And I'm going to crank this down to 10. And now I'm going to use a feature that's in Photoshop already. It's pretty cool, and it's called lorem ipsum. And it lives in the type menu. Paste lorem ipsum. And it looks like that. It does a nice job. By the way, it's also hyphenating words, which we don't like to do. So I'm going to go to my paragraph panel and say no hyphenation. But this is pretty loose here. You can see that there's a lot more lines on the sketched page. So what I'm going to do is I could do one of a couple things. I could reduce the size of the font, which I don't think I need to do. If I do, I might reduce it down to 9 maybe. Of course, I've actually got to tell it I'm done first. Hang on. Got to tell it I'm done, and I say, okay, now we'll go to 9. Okay, that's not bad. But it's using the spacing. This is called leading. It's using the leading of the previous thing we did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this down to auto for a minute. And that looks a lot better. Now, and what lorem ipsum is, it's just a bunch of random, it's called Greeking, even though I'm pretty sure this is Latin. And what we wanted to do is to push it up here to make it look like it's a real set of lines. Now, it's not going to involve the bullet points. If you wanted to go in there and plunk in all those bullet points, rock on, but that's not what we're going to do here. Okay, so you would basically do this kind of body copy with lorem ipsum in places like this and small places like that, and on the side note here and in other places. Most everything else, the stuff that's headlines, buttons, things of that nature that would be sort of more static on every page. In other words, the categories. The content would change rapidly, but so that body copy changes, but the headlines and the categories not so much. So use this as your guide to do the rest of your type.